Today on Alex and Autos, we have our first drop-top child seat review segment. This is the very sexy-looking 2015 Audi A3 Cabrio, and this is a Graco Classic Ride 50 child seat. At just under $36,000, the A3 Cabrio is one of the least expensive luxury vehicles available in the United States. It's also one of the least expensive convertibles, interestingly enough. The Graco Classic Ride 50 child seat is a convertible child seat, which means you can use it for forward or rearward-facing installation, and children between 4 and 50 pounds. Now, for a long time, I've sort of joked that convertibles make the ideal child vehicle because you just lower the top, you drop your child in, and then you put the top back up. And then when you get to your destination, you lower your top, you pull your child out, then you put your top back up. Obviously, that is a tongue-in-cheek joke because we don't have as much room in the back as you will find in your average passenger sedan. And that really is important when it comes to installing a child seat. Let's see exactly how that works. As always, the first step is to move the front passenger seat forward as much as possible while still being safe. I'm going to move the seat so I have about an inch of room between the dashboard and my knees, sitting in a very upright position. Unfortunately, while I do have enough room to sit behind myself at 6 feet tall, there's just not enough room to fit a rearward-facing child seat in the back of the A3 Cabrio. That's not really surprising. So far, I have not found any convertible that can actually accommodate a rearward-facing child seat and a 6 foot tall person up front. The front seat would likely have to move another 4 to 5 inches forward in order for this rearward-facing child seat to fit properly in the back. As such, I can't imagine anyone would really be able to sit up front with the child seat behind it. However, you could still fit 2 6 foot tall adults and 1 child seat in the A3. You just put one person in the driver's seat, one person behind them, and then the child seat right next to them in the back of the A3. That's entirely doable. Forward-facing child seat installation proved a little bit tricky because you want to use a top tether anchor with every child seat in a forward-facing position, whether you're using the latch anchors or the lap and shoulder belt. It gives you that added security of a tighter fit. When properly installed, a child seat should move no more than ½ an inch when you tug it firmly. The top tether anchor is really required in order to achieve that. Top tether installation is a little bit tricky in the A3, however, because we have this rollover protection system. It's this panel right here behind the headrest. In an anticipated rollover, you'll actually get a tube that pops up from that section to help protect you in the event of a rollover. That means that we can't have the top tether anchor over that because it would sort of jettison your child out of the car. It means you can't go behind that for a top tether anchorage. The top tether anchor is instead located on this seat back. So I'll go over the process right here because it is a little bit unintuitive. You obviously can't recline this seat from the inside of the vehicle, but I have this child seat in the car, so I'm just going to dangle that top tether anchor over right there. Then I'm going to actually go to the trunk, and then I have to release the rear seat back from the trunk. It is handy that this is a convertible. It makes getting in and out of the car a little bit easier. Go to the trunk, pull the handle to recline this rear seat back, then grabbing the top tether anchor right like this underneath the headrest. Depending on the size of your headrest, of course, and the size of your child seat, you may want to remove the headrest. Latch it on right like that, so you can see right there. Then we're going to have to actually hold that, put this seat back into place like that, and then you're going to have to tighten this top tether anchor up while this child seat is in place and the seat is in place. That's pretty tricky with these Graco Classic Ride 50 child seats because if I open this up, this has a very large buckle attached to it, something that I've complained about with this particular child seat. If I tighten this up, you can't actually get this seat to latch because the buckle is actually interfering with this seat mechanism and the back portion right here. It's all down to the size of this top tether anchor on the Graco Classic Ride 50 seat. You can see it's quite large, the distance from this end to this end of the buckle. That makes it tricky to install in a wide variety of vehicles, not just this A3 convertible. But that is an important consideration in this vehicle because you do want to use the top tether anchor. It's going to give you added safety, and you just can't do it with this child seat and this vehicle. Cargo capacity has long been something that convertibles have struggled with simply because the top has to go somewhere, and that somewhere is usually the trunk. In the A3, we have a separate compartment for the top to descend into. So it's this section right here on the trunk. This last section opens as a traditional trunk lid. So when the top opens and closes, this tilts open from the front, top goes in or out of it, and then it closes back down, leaving this trunk opening right here. If I open this section of the trunk, you'll notice that we have this little cargo barrier right here. That means that we can access some of that room when the top is not down. When the top is down, like we have right here on the car, if I try and pull out this 24-inch roller bag, you'll notice it is a little bit tight in there, but I was able to fit a 24-inch roller bag, a 26-inch roller bag, and a computer bag right here in the cargo area. I suspect that fitting a child seat in this trunk will be a little bit tricky, but let's see how that turns out. Have one child seat right here, and Yes, you'll notice that it is a little bit taller than this opening is, and because of the overall dimensions of the seat, I can't even get it in past this opening. Even if I fold up this little forward-facing foot right there on the bottom, there's just nowhere for this child seat to go in the A3. As it turns out, my little joke about convertibles being the ideal family vehicle turns out not to be true. We can't really fit rearward-facing child seats very well in the back of the A3, even though we have a generous amount of room for adults. It's just due to the overall shape and size of the A3. It also happens right back here in the cargo area, because although I could easily carry luggage for 2 on a weekend away and still have the top down, I can't put one child seat in the back. Obviously, you could put that child seat in the back seat if it's a forward-facing child seat, and the child would be very comfortable. It just won't take you from the rearward-facing to the forward-facing ages. Likewise, despite this child seat not fitting in the back right there, I do give the A3 overall high marks for its cargo capacity. We also get 50-50 folding rear seats, which help you put longer items into this car. However, if you're looking for a more family-friendly vehicle, you'll find it in the A3 sedan. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. I'm Alex Dykes, and this has been the 2015 A3 Cabrio. If you want to know more about the A3 Cabrio, there is a complete review on my channel. You can go ahead and click that subscribe banner at the bottom of your screen. Be taken on over to my subscribe page where you can find all of my videos. You can also find me over at facebook.com/AlexNautos, over at Twitter as AlexNautos. You can always email your questions to alex@alexnautos.com. I'll see you next week.